this budget? Or do we have to have approval by it, and then it's up to us to figure out how to pay for it?
Well,
I'd be in favor of taking something, if not all, but at least something.
I think when you look at the bottom line, where we're going with this, total numbers, something's gonna have to come out, and, this might be a way to do, one item.
Okay,
Yeah, the only other big place you have is roads.
yep,
That's it.
okay. Now, can we borrow for the new truck when we get it next spring?
We're advised not to borrow anymore.
Yeah, really.
no,
That's what we're trying to avoid.
You can, it's an option.
Because it's a capital investment, it doesn't come under the
Yep.
restrictions of the
Right.
cap.
You certainly can, but that's something you don't want to do.
Right.
That's what the whole levy override is trying to avoid.
except ironically, that's what the levy, well,
Forces
that's
you.
what the cap has forced you into doing.
What's the point of taking it out if we have the money elsewhere from the surplus, let's call it? To me, it belongs there because it's what the public should see as a capital expense that's budgeted.
Well, I think what Bud just alluded to is the fact that when we look at what the bottom line, what this budget is going to be, and what we're going to suggest as the override, that's gonna be a pretty hefty figure.
Just curiosity, Bud, if you go to page 5, the very bottom down there, if nothing had changed, we're looking for 905,000. If you were to take that 905,000 and add it to the tax roll, how would that impact the mill rate per?
It's on page 6. Your levy goes to $2.40 per thousand.
Versus,
149,
Last year was 149.
so it's 90 cents essentially per thousand.
Yep.
So if you had what's the average home in Liberty Grove? 300,000 or so?
Well, on the last column there, a $200,000 piece of property would pay $480 in tax,
More or less, or total?
total for the town.
For the town.
You know, I moved here, I've known John since the 60s. And I think that everyone can remember that during those time periods, you could buy a 40 for $250, $300 an acre.
yeah.
And I've always sort of looked at my house as an investment in Door County as, you know, it'd probably go up 10, 12% per year, went up pretty nicely. And during the period when we were flush in money, the town of Liberty Grove could spend pretty freely without impacting the levy of homes, especially existing ones, because the new construction would take up that. I think that now that I have a better handle on what's happening, it's putting off the highway repair and stuff like that has really put us into a corner financially. And we're gonna have to bite the bullet here. You can't cut $900,000 out of this budget. It's just physically impossible. And I would not vote to borrow the money. I think, as you tried last time, you have to get some sort of a levy cap override. And, but as you say it about in October, don't suggest anything till you cut everything you can. And moving the or the plow truck, the 235, and taking out the other funds would somewhat mitigate that, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with Lou that you've got to keep it in. Where you create the offset is in your, for lack of a better term, revenue line.
Okay. All right.
Well, then in the revenue part of this, you're suggesting then we show a moving of capital
Yes,
reserve over into the revenue side.
yes.
Yep.
All right, I would agree totally with that, because if you take that number out of there, then
Okay,
it doesn't look like you're doing anything, you're just, you know,
And
you're doing the same thing that you're being accused of, is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
technically, it has to be in there because it's a highway expenditure.
well, that's,
Absolutely.
So it has to come, it's going to be applied toward the $5,000 a mile deal too, so
Well, that's,
that has to show as, if you just take it out, then it's not a true statement, really, true picture.
But moving it, like you said, Janet, or showing the line that you've moved that capital is exactly what I think we need to do.
So if you took part or all of that and add it to the revenue section down here, that just takes that 900,000 down by that much.
right.
Exactly.
And maybe instead of taking 242 out of capital reserve, maybe I suggest 200?
Make it a round amount.
If you make a round number, it's a little easier to track, think about.
And then that would leave 159,000 in our capital reserve, plus anything we budget to go back into
Capital
capital.
reserve,
we thought you already have 200,000
exactly.
budgeted, right?
It's in there now, yeah.
And it looks like, Bud, that there's a good start on the separate sheet here. Although this is just highways, if you can do any more to elaborate on this, bring it out, maybe like you suggested, 10 years.
I'd go at 10.
Go out 10 years, divide by 10, put everything in there, and we can come up with the equivalent of what we put in, at least for the time being, in fire equipment capital expense, line 81 there. We came up with 90,000, which is the town share of that. And then we know how much to throw in there rather than just an amount. And the sole purpose of which is to eliminate debt payments by borrowing when we need things and don't have the money in reserve.
Right.
Okay, but are we gonna be able to get that done before October?
Oh, a swag though, I think, you know, just,
I mean, when you're going out that far, it's a guess.
it's a guess anyway. But at the same time, I think, just to show that we've divided what these are, prospective purchases are going to be, divided it by 10, and say, this is it, and if we do better, that's fine, and if we've underestimated, then capital reserve won't be as sufficient, but at least it'll be there. We've made a start toward the capital reserve.
It's easy to do with some equipment, like the trucks now, we're figuring 20 years.
Right.
Some of the other items, we just gotta take a good guess at.
Yeah, it is just a good guess, though, but I think that's exactly the only thing we could ever expect, and then, but it shows that it's being done in a way that's intelligent and adult-like. To say, you know, a new truck is not going to go away if we just put our head in the sand and believe that if we don't prepare for it now, we won't need it 5 years from now or 10 years from now. It's gonna be there regardless, and then all of a sudden we need one, everybody fusses about it, and we borrow the money and pay the debt service again, and bring our levy down because that we're paying off the debt again.
Right.
Yep.
The way this crazy truck industry works, we've got a slot right now for a 2015 truck, but they're already building the 2016s. So it's, you know, and we can't order it at this point because nothing's final, so we just have to, we're kind of in limbo right now, so we'll just see how things go.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to mention that the bigger figure is number 77.
Okay,
And I think everything we've talked about for the last nearly hour will have to be rethought and considered in relationship to the amount of mileage we think we should do on the highways in 2015.
Well, we're
Pretty
looking,
scanty, right?
Well, what, I mean, is everybody good with line 76 and keeping all of those vehicles in there?
Yes, absolutely.
I asked,
I don't think we have much choice.
I don't think there's any choice.
then let's go
It's
to
gonna cost,
77.
if you think trucks are expensive now, what are they gonna be if we put it off 2
Yeah.
or 3 years?
And that's at 200?
242.
242,
We're leaving
531.
it at 242, but then
I see,
in the
then I'm
revenue
with
side,
200,
we'll
okay.
go
Okay, line 77.
77.
Cedar Shore Road, 46,500. Scandia, that's our trip road,
You're right.
168,300. Settlement, 150,000. That's the 364,800.
And we're paving, what, 3.5 mile, well, not even 2.5 miles.
3 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2.3 miles out of 105.
But is that based upon the rate we paid for the mile on Garrett Bay Road?
That's, yeah, and then figuring, you know, maybe it's a little less because it's closer to the plant. But then you got a new year. Kaloji at the meeting the other night said that the asphalt, the oil's going up next year again, so there you sit. What we gain moving that way, we lose in oil price, so.
When, we've been talking a couple times about the thickness of the pavement we put down and
We put
we put
3.
down more than, do we know that we get back in putting down that much more? Does it last that longer, much longer?
Yeah, normally a 3-inch
Left.
cover is the standard cover. We've done thinner at times, but it's not as good.
Regardless of the traffic on the road?
Correct. What really is critical is your base that you put the asphalt on. You need a good base, that's why we do it like we do it. And if you got a good base, it'll, with that 3 inches, and it's done in two lifts. The first one they do to fill in the rough areas if you have it, and then they've got that, it's not quite as smooth as your second lift, so they put the second lift over that, and it's a little finer. So you've got a nice smooth, what I would suggest doing is drive on Garrett Bay Road and then go to Waters End Road between Scandia and ZZ and just see if there's a difference. Just make a comparison by just driving down the road.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about the smoothness, but how long it lasts.
Yeah. Eventually you're gonna get cracking and whatnot, of course, settling and it always happens, but.
Is there any way to smooth this out by moving those to 2016?
We already have.
I mean, to take that money and, because where's that gonna come from? Yeah,
That's the big question.
right.
Well, Scandia, we're locked into if we wanna get the trip money of $20,000. Cedar Shore, that might go in conjunction with with line 78, with the piping there. With the recommendation that we're gonna be looking at tomorrow night, that 35 turns into 65 instantly. So, and then that Cedar Shore Road is really,
It's terrible. We gotta dig it up to get the storm sewer repaired underneath. And the one thing we haven't considered there is what's in the Shabika report
Right.
as to the situation where that storm drain feeds out into the harbor and the sheeting is rusted through.
in Settlement Road, it's 2 ruts on each side of the road right now where the traffic has been driving. It's, when it's plowed in the wintertime, you can't plow everything off of it because the road's like that.
I thought the same thing though, Paul, and you look at how it's gonna back up everything
Yeah.
in 2016, 17, 18. Everything just gets pushed back again. And there's a
It's been
lot
doing
of-
for 2
Well,
more
yeah,
years.
it gets
a
pushed
lot of
back.
paving.
Yeah, it gets pushed back, but it's also gonna make a part of our presentation a little bit better. I mean, if you're gonna have, at $900,000 over, we're gonna have to push something back. And whether it's a mile of road or 2 miles of road, if they can last another year, You know, that's $300,000.
We should be doing 5 miles of road a year.
That thought is nice, but that is what we have done.
This is what
It's
we've
easy
done for the
that way.
last 15 or 20 years. And this is why we're in the soup we're in now. And we've got to quit. I've been screaming about this for 5.5 years since I came on the board. You're putting off the roads, and it's gonna cost us much more in taxes. Now we're experiencing it already.
We all know
For
that. I'm just,
2015.
we all know that can't be put off. I'm just,
No, it can't.
we have to convince the voters.
Kind of an aside is, every so often Northeast Asphalt sets up in Bailey's Harbor, a temporary plant. And one of the main costs of laying a road is the trucking between the plant and the actual road. So right now, you'd be trucking from Sturgeon Bay to here to do that sort of stuff. And when Northeast Asphalt has their things set up there, it might be a good prudent idea for the town to do a lot more paving then. But I think you'd probably get a much better price on it.
Well, the reason,
Can we
they
ask
set up
them
a
to
pe-
set up there?
Pardon?
Can we ask them to, I mean,
To set up here?
If we,
Well, yeah,
if we have enough roads, they'll do it.
sure.
okay.
They got one set up on the island this
Right.
summer. The island did a batch of roads over there, so they wouldn't have to be doing piecemeal.
And they repaired all the roads. And went heavily into debt to do it.
I'm sure.
I forgot, somebody told me what the figure was for the ferry. I mean, it was like $60,000 or something like that. To get the equipment back and forth.
Right. Just to
Anyway, we're,
Taxes
I
that's,
think,
that's another,
I think we should leave all this in.
here.
Yeah.
well, I think, okay, I think reality has to come in a light at some point for the community. I mean, it's just, it's unfortunate, but
And if it doesn't,
Then you do what we did last
Borrow.
year. They say no, we come back, and then we chop.
yeah.
And then we go out and borrow
Yeah.
if we have to.
You know, I mean, that's not what you wanna do,
No,
but,
well,
It doesn't matter if the override, if your 5,000 mile doesn't get jacked up,
yeah,
you can't,
that's-
doesn't pay to borrow, because you can't do it anyway.
We can't do it anyway. yeah.
Can't do it anyway, sorry, sitting back.
Any progress on what's going on in Madison to raise the $5,000 a mile cap?
I don't think there's any progress.
We got a bunch of guys around here that are running for office, we better talk to them.
That was brought up
They're
at the,
aware of it.
that was brought up at the meeting last Thursday, and this group is going to pound on them on the next round that, when they meet.
Isn't it true that only towns of 300,000 people and less can do this?
I'm sorry.
Have a levy override, you have to be a town of less than 300,000 people.
Less than 3,000 can do it at a town
3,000,
meeting.
right.
At a town meeting, yeah.
Over 3,000, you need a referendum. But then it still has to get voted on at town meeting.
Well, Paul, I guess back to your suggestion, I guess, look at it. If we do the whole thing initially, and it doesn't go anywhere, so next year you're back. I mean, it strikes me doing this whole thing right up front, down the line eases the pain. I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah,
initial
there's
pain
no
is gonna
question
be
about
there,
it.
but, you know,
like
for,
I said, it does, we know that, but it's
Yeah.
a matter of where you
Convincing.
can make it a little more palatable.
yeah. Well,
Is there some way, we've talked a lot about these rules, the levy cap and 5,000 a mile and all these other things. Is there some way that we could come up with a little pamphlet that shows how all these restrictions at the state level affect the decisions we have to make in the town. So that anybody that reads our budget can go back and to refer to that as sort of a Bible.
Well, I think that,
And
that
understand
article in the
what
Advocate.
we're talking about and what we're dealing here, because we only have 3 people in the audience.
That article in the Advocate, what, a couple of weeks ago, hit it right on, I mean, they laid it out very well.
And my assumption is that when we do these presentations, that restraint, the equivalent of what you said is going to be in the pamphlet, Frank, which is a good idea,
Yeah.
will be front and center at this presentation. The big picture of where we've been and why the restrictions, not just this town, but every town, as the Towns Association would attest to, we're not the only ones in this boat at all. And those caps and the restrictions on the highways are exactly what's put us in the situation we're in right now.
Would it be possible for one or more of the presentations we're going to have a representative from the Towns Association be present
That would be great.
and
Yeah,
speak
why not?
about the rest of the towns?
They'd have to be here for all 4.
Or Thursday.
Yeah, that's true, we can't make that time. So it seems to be a criticism that it's just us, and it's not just us.
No,
And,
no.
you know, maybe that rumor could be put to bed then.
That's an idea.
So here's a question. How about Gibraltar and Ephraim and all these other places? Are they contemplating the same thing as we are doing now?
I haven't heard, one of the towns south of Sturgeon is planning and to ask for a levy override. I haven't heard anybody else at this point.
I mean, if you get 2 or 3 to go to once, it would probably,
Beth told me in Gibraltar, they presented the highway department to spend more than 5,000, and they approved it at their budget meeting. And then, I can't remember if she said they also asked for an override at that meeting, but they've at least talked about it. I can call her and ask her what they're doing, so.
it kind of
But
makes,
that would be something that we could also, in our
Right.
presentation, say, Gibraltar is also doing this, you know.
the high school's been doing it for about 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got they now have
Continuing,
a continuing
yeah,
override, which is what we're trying to do,
yeah.
so.
And I think this is true throughout the state too, from bits and pieces you get here and there.
And you know what? If you don't get it, then you borrow, or you don't do
We
anything.
don't do.
And is that what everybody's investment is for?
Well, and when you borrow, it still has to be paid back. You
Yeah,
have to get the money
exactly.
from somewhere.
Exactly,
And Bud
and
did
then
it.
some.
Bud did some calculating, and didn't you, in your calculations, you showed that it actually costs the taxpayers more
Yep,
on a borrow
yep,
Absolutely,
versus the override.
yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
By a long shot.
And the borrowing is an option. It isn't just if they don't want you to, you know, you don't do the levy override, but if you decide you're gonna do all this stuff, then you borrow.
One of the things, though, that you run the risk of, especially with a cynical public, is, oh, those are just threats anyway. And Fred said several meetings ago, when he talked about the Gibraltar override, he used very concrete examples, like your child will not be picked up by the bus after 3:30, or whatever the example was. Something that could really register. And it seems that some of the more cynical townspeople, and they should be cynical and questioning, would say, you know, everything's gonna go on anyway. Nothing's really not, you know, this is all just a tempest in a teapot, and it's a bluff, and somehow they'll squeeze out the services that we expect. And we know that that can't happen without borrowing then. Because if push came to shove, and we said, well, we can't pay the staff, the road crew to do plowing, so we're just gonna let it pile up. That's the best we can do. And if it's an emergency situation because the roads are completely clogged with snow and ice, that's the consequence of not having the money. You know, and if it got down to that, we'd say, no, the emergency services that we provide, or the services we provide, like snow plowing, would go on, and we'll just borrow the money to do it, which is gonna be more expensive in the long run. So it's hard to, I think it's hard to make a threat, if it would be interpreted as a threat, but like Fred said, it has to be very specific, though. It has to be real in terms of what's not going to go on, what's not gonna happen. And more than just not mowing the parks and things like that.
Right, you might have one patrol truck with a plow on it, and you might get plowed out in 3 days.
Well, we don't, by statute, don't we have 72 hours
Yep.
to
Yeah.
plow?
72
after a
hours.
storm?
Yep.
So if we have one patrol truck, and that one truck does all the roads,
3 days to do them all.
we've got 3 days to do all the roads.
And it breaks down.
Yeah,
Yep.
anyway,
But, and then the other problem is a lot of people, like that person that was here, they don't know, they don't see the services that they get. He was asking, what do I get for my $4,800?
Yeah.
Well, it's not 4,800, it's more like 400 or whatever that.
right, 4,800 is total tax, not the town portion. We are only concerned with the town portion.
I think the biggest thing, and this is a repeat, I know, but the town was devalued by 4% more than any other municipality in the county. If we don't maintain our services and the quality of our roads and parks and everything else, property values are gonna drop more. It's better to let your taxes go up a little bit each year to keep the services and roads we need and keep our values up.
Get some bargain real estate.
Yeah. Line 77, are we gonna keep it
Let's keep going.
as is?
Yeah.
I say keep it.
Line 78, Bud's reference, it's gonna, the Shabika report is suggesting that the, just so everybody's aware, that the storm sewer that now, or drain that now goes into the harbor, be switched over to a, what do they call it?
Retention.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Wills Park.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Why?
We just did a big hole in the middle of Wells Park and put rock in it and then.
Oh.
It would kind of be right between them,
Yeah.
actually, on the border between the flag, where the flag is, and the park. It would, what's happening now is, all the water that comes in from the, highway has got salt in it, and our sheet pile is all rusted out
Yep.
in there right now, so that would get at least that problem away from it. And I think, I have to approach a certain fish boiler who used to dump his, salt water in there from boiling the fish.
He's recommending a rain garden,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
actually an escarpment feature, and I think GODC might be a little bit interested in helping to seek funding for that.
no, okay.
I talked to the DNR already, and that's the
They don't have a
greatest thing
problem
since
with it.
sliced bread, when they have those retention
Yeah,
ponds like
yeah.
that.
Now, that's not saying anything about the rest of the harbor at this point in time. So,
So is he saying, I heard you say a number more than 35.
Oh,
What
golly.
is he saying?
65 was the
65 or
estimate.
So do we plunk in 65 there instead of 35
I think so.
Yeah.
for our purposes?
I think we have to.
But now this is
Do-
just, this is parent's number
yeah,
for the piping. This doesn't
that's
include,
construction.
this doesn't include what he might have been talking about of, I don't know if that's going from the beginning of the park out to the water, or if that's, I don't think that would, it could be the whole thing, but I don't know.
You'd have to go back to parent, right, Bud?
Yeah, with a new, request.
New request, because if he's got his equipment in there, all he has to do is create the pond and the extra piping beyond what he's already got. It might not be that much more.
The pond has to be, you have to make it waterproof so it doesn't leach out, the water stays there. It's not a simple undertaking, just digging a hole.
No, it isn't.
So do we change this number, or do we wait until you have a different number and you report back?
I would leave this here and put any other number that you get for that into
Parks?
parks. So it doesn't go into highways.
Yeah, that's a thought.
That's good.
Does that qualify
For,
parks?
yeah, it's in the park.
Okay.
Then the other question comes up, where's that pipe gonna go in relation to the cedar trees? If it doesn't go where the trees are, and they go next to the cedar trees, quite a bit of root damage there, so
And
the
the trees will go anyway.
trees might have to
I
go.
think you have to put it where the trees are, remove the trees and replant.
Well, and there has been the suggestion then that you widen that drive.
Yes, we're accomplishing several things here,
Yeah.
I think, by doing it right.
Okay. Going on.
Sure.
Nothing.
Yeah, cemeteries, nothing. Fire equipment's the 90. No, okay, now Sharps, Parks take okay,
There's the other half of the trailer,
oh, okay,
4,000.
okay. Gravel and miscellaneous,
Okay,
84.
that's 15,000 yards of gravel at $424 a yard, 2,000 breaker run at $376 a yard. That's at prices that are 2 years old, so that's gonna be a little different, but what I would do is, certainly, I would not raise that number. And what we do when we crush is we figure out what the price is and we stop them at a number when we've reached our number. It might not be 15,000 yards, but it would be somewhere between 10 and 15.
so is the 120, could that be cut back?
It could be, sure.
So that's for blasting and crushing gravel, right, basically?
Yeah, blasting is included in the $424 per yard price.
You've got Cedar Shore pipe in line 78, and then you've also got it added into those 4 items, right?
Which one is that?
On 78, we talked about the Cedar Shore pipe
Yeah.
at 35,000, and then if you go over to your 5-year highway forecast, those 4 items in 2015 have 63, 75, the 35 is stormwater pipe again, an extra patch.
That's not added in.
That was moved over to
The
here.
three, the
That's,
three items, 63,
63.
75, 2, and 10 are what totals up to the 80.
Okay, that's not added in.
yeah,
Okay,
right.
So how many yards is that again?
15,000 gravel, 2,000 breaker run,
And that's to put on our existing roads?
yeah.
you,
And some in parks too, if we need it, but not as much as goes on the roads.
can you cut that back to 75? Or is that too drastic?
75,000? I don't think it's too drastic.
Can we cut it back to 70?
Try 72.
Is this called the
Okay,
Price is
you're-
Right?
You're crushing at 424 a yard.
You're losing 1,500 yards then. So you're not losing a lot.
What do we
So-
have in storage right now? We have a huge piles over there.
Yeah. We probably, maybe have 1,000 yards out there now, between that range.
I mean, that way you could crush half of what you need and take it from the existing piles. Be fresher.
So that'd knock it down by 30,000 if we crushed half.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable? Or are we gonna run out?
We don't wanna run out, and then we'd have to get somebody in the next year again,
It'll cost you more.
which would be more. It's nice to get a couple of years done at one time.
He has to
But
move his,
nice, we probably can't do.
yeah, he's gotta move his equipment up here and back. Again, it's be cheaper for the taxpayer if we do what Bud wants.
Yeah, this will be, I think, because we put Isle View off for a year, that will be 3 years since we crushed.
Yeah.
But we're only doing 2.3 miles of road in 2015.
Well, a lot of that goes to the gravel roads that are around too, though, right, Bud? Like,
We don't have many gravel roads anymore, though.
all of,
In 2016, we're doing 4 miles.
Yeah.
Lou lives on one.
Cedar Dell, for example, is all gravel.
Yeah.
Right.
Woodland, is that what it's called?
Woodland is all gravel.
Woodland is gravel, North Badger's gravel.
Nobody lives on Woodland.
Right.
So is 75 or 70 reasonable?
We'll put 70 in there, we'll work with it.
68?
Spin the wheel.
Sorry.
Can we just go back to 82? Why did parks drop so dramatically?
In which one?
Yeah, 82.
82, sorry.
We had equipment
Oh, okay,
this year.
okay. So
Isn't
we
that
use
where
that
the-
half of a truck, okay.
That's, we got half the excavator in there.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the new one sitting out there. you
yeah,
said.
yeah.
Okay, so the line 85 changes a little bit, not much, but a little bit. Recycling.
That's pretty much the ballpark.
I think it's
How long's that been in place and it's,
And who are we
Yeah.
paying?
going.
Going garbage.
We have two big bins, one for
and that's
Oh, for
for
the
anybody
town.
to go put,
bottles and cans and the other for paper, cardboard.
do we know, or does Going know how much gets in there? Cause as I drive around and what I pay for is Going to come and pick up garbage and recycling. As
pay
I
for it
drive
too.
around, I see the same thing all over.
Yeah.
I mean, are
That's,
8 people taking advantage of this?
Every month we get a bill, he sends how many pounds are turned in every month.
Every time I go there, there's somebody else there or one or two more come while I'm
Same
there.
here. Yeah, me either.
It's used, many people each day.
We suggested dropping that last year off the budget, and it was not well accepted.
Is there a way to decrease it without dropping it?
We did. We knocked off tires,
Tires.
batteries, and waste oil. We left on only the paper and the mix.
And the proposal to have the Going garbage do pickup for the entire town
This would have knocked out.
was criticized any number of ways, including the fact
that it was cheaper.
Much cheaper.
that it was much cheaper, but including the fact that the town wasted money asking people whether they would prefer to have their own garbage pickup as opposed to, going to the center down on Old Stage Road. Even to the point of saying the town wasted the town's money, the taxpayer money, by asking people whether they wanted that service or not.
Cause I know, well, we know that, and you know it too, but a lot of people just go around and find dumpsters and throw it in
yeah.
anyways. but-
Oh, yeah.
I'm a dumpster owner, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Or not even a dumpster. We picked up
Yeah.
garbage twice now along Garrett Bay Road.
Garrett Bay Road, huh?
While I'm on this subject, I've had a complaint that people in a particular area are burning their wet garbage behind their houses in a 55-gallon drum, and the smell is terrible.
We need to call the sheriff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a county ordinance or a town
I
ordinance?
believe it's county.
It's county, okay.
Back to the 27,000.
That's
It's
the
not,
number.
it's not gonna hurt anybody.
Can't change it.
Okay. Dog pound,
Hang on to your dogs, kids.
Every year we have violators, so
Let them pay.
they do. We try to collect,
Put it on their taxes.
if they're a taxpayer.
if, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
the
got
only
it.
problem.
Otherwise, I find out what it costs and I send the people bills.
Wonderful, thank you.
We don't get a lot of money back. 89,
We don't spend a lot of money on Little Sister. Penny Andy stuff.
we cut that, well, there we go,
We do get,
nickel and diming.
we do get 50% of whatever that number is from Sister Bay.
Oh, okay.
So these wages, et cetera, aren't ours. They're
Yeah.
what we're contributing towards Little Sister?
No, those are our crew wages.
We do the
Oh,
work
they
and
are.
then Sister Bay reimburses.
So there's an offset someplace in terms of what Sister Bay contributes back?
Yeah, there's a revenue, in the revenue section, there's around between $2,000 and $2,400 every year for the cemetery.
Okay, if we jump ahead to line 107, which kind of, at the bottom of the page.
What does that represent?
All of the above, I think.
Everything from dog pound to,
It's the dog pound and the cemeteries.
Okay.
Just,
Why, I mean, if we're estimating 12,149 at the end of this year, we budgeted, what, 17? Okay, why are we going back to 17?
The
Although here
wages
we
are
are
up.
nickel and diming again,
Uh,
but,
The
It
wages
kinda-
are up.
depends on wages.
yeah,
Which depends on how many people die.
Depends on digging.
yeah, that's true. Let's not go there, bud. We've been in this conversation once before.
Does everybody know why Sister Bay pays us 50%?
Why?
That's in return for allowing them to bury their dead in Little Sister Cemetery. That goes way back.
Okay. Page 3, out of how many?
You're getting near the end here.
All right. Line 109, Parks General Maintenance. Any questions? Gills Rock Park.
Before we go any further, does everyone have the parks budget?
Yes.
No.
No.
I don't think so.
no.
I don't think we get this far.
Oh, okay. She was hoping we had it. How many people know where the North Bay Dock is?
Me,
I do.
and actually, you could launch a boat there now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would think you could.
the water's up 2 feet from January.
Where is it?
Fantastic.
If you go down to Marshall's Point, right at the gate, you take the fork to the right and go about a quarter of a mile. And
Yeah,
right
it's
at
a-
the end,
It's
there's a
it's kind of
beautiful ramp and a parking area for about
Yeah.
a dozen cars. and a channel that's been dredged out into North Bay that takes.
Weiser
you-
did that.
Kidding,
Yeah.
wow.
You know, one thing is kind of minor, some people have taken the cleats off of the dock down there, Bud,
Really?
and so all they got is a bolt sticking up, and someone's gonna trip on one of those bolts. Should probably take a torch and cut the bolts off.
We'll put a cleat back on.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to steal a cleat.
Yeah,
People.
Oh, thank you.
Again, ignore little like check marks and things, that's just
Yeah.
my doodle.
John, how much longer are you gonna try and do this whole thing tonight, or what?
No, no.
We've been at it for 2 hours.
Yeah,
I
we-
think we might call it now.
How does everybody feel?
We have another meeting
You
scheduled.
want, yeah, we've got another one next week. We'll probably have to have one the week after.
we've also gotta start planning for these
Yeah.
meetings, and if we're really gonna do this focus group, we're gonna have to have a presentation ready. I won't be here
I
next
got
week, I'm on
one somewhere.
vacation.
Okay.
The rest of these pages are gonna go fairly quick, I don't see a lot.
Yeah,
of
do we-
argument.
what if we go right to do page 3 and then call it quits?
Yeah.
Is that all
Okay.
right?
That should
Sure.
go pretty fast.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those last words.
Okay, Parks, General Maintenance, line 109. 110, Gills Rock, 500. Nothing for North Bay,
Cut those
111.
bolts off.
Yeah, bolts.
$22.67.
Okay, Ellison Bay Harbor Maintenance, 112.
Right
Kind
now,
of
we
a
got
Smoke dream, isn't it?
phone, electricity, launch forms, and weed repair.
So what are we doing for the proposed budget that's so significantly greater than the estimated for 2014?
Well, it depends on what we're gonna do with some of those piers down there. In the short term, if we're not gonna do anything, we can certainly take this down.
Now, if you don't repair piers and maintain them, you're gonna lose more people coming here.
We
They're
lost
not gonna
people
use
this
it.
year.
Right.
There's no way you should operate that marina in the condition that it's in.
That's right.
It's rustic.
It's pretty tough.
It's rustic.
And more than rustic, it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think we probably gotta leave that in.
How many-
And
how many
that's not,
boats- This is
that's,
just like a roads thing. We
How
put
many
it
boats
off
can
too
we put in
long.
there?
we used to be able to get, what, 9 in there? 8, depending on the size, but now the south one, we're not even using.
So we're looking at $10,000 for 8 or 9
We have,
folks.
That
There's-
rings in about,
there's more than that.
Right,
There's
that's-
13.
But that's people
13
launching, go
slips.
fishing, and a whole bunch of other
That's
stuff
just
there.
moored boats,
And
right?
then-
That's not daily use.
then they're
No.
also
Yeah.
the $5 a launch.
Right, because daily use is
But
pretty
you can't
big.
raise the launch fees because.
For what?
The condition of the docks.
And here again, it's a case of not doing things over the course of time, so. Wills Park,
Barrels,
barrels?
we have a barrel or two in there of,
Rotten.
that Beth maintains.
Oh, okay.
Does a little weeding in there too.
All right, Women's Club building,
Electricity, cleaning, minor, supplies. Don't have the roof in there.
okay, Ellison Bay Community Center,
3,200 for the garden lady to maintain the,
okay.
the garden down there, plus $500 miscellaneous.
Is the septic system or the holding tank there working now, Bud, or does that have to be replaced?
Seems to be working, we've been monitoring it, and things seem to be moving along okay.
All right, nothing for Europe Bay, Fitzgerald.
Public service, and we're looking at painting we were gonna paint the windows on there for a couple of years now, and haven't gotten around to that yet.
Garrett Bay.
$200 for who knows what. There isn't much to really
There isn't
do
much
down there.
With the high water,
Did
there's
we ever
now a
get-
smaller stone at the end of the ramp, and it's pretty good for kayakers,
Is
getting
that
in it
working?
better than it's been when the water was a lot lower.
Did that sign of,
No, it's still
It's not back yet.
where is it?
The
Uh,
DNR's
DNR
Someone-
will bring it back.
Someone backed
already.
into it with a pickup truck, how they did that, it's beyond me, but they picked it up.
Ask Yvonne how they do that. She'll tell you.
They picked it up to repair it. They didn't have the funds. They had to raise the funds for it. I
Oh.
talked to her this spring, and they were gonna have it there before too long, and it's
Another season's gone.
not there.
Okay, Europe Lake Park.
Is the boat launch there?
We
Money
spent,
comes in from that, and that's a good one.
Yeah, and it's used. It's not heavily used, but it's used.
Yeah. It's usually somebody there all the time. Okay, 121, garbage collection at the parks.
$48 a lift at about 6 lifts per summer.
Okay. And then, again, the wages.
That varies 10 to 15% of total wages.
You're well under your 2014 estimate, Bud. Are you going back to the 2014 budget figure?
For which one now?
This page.
Parks, wages, 122.
Yeah,
He spends, what, 4 or 5 months of the year on those parks?
well, that's how the distribution works out on the, what actually happens, comes off the timesheet, so it can be more time
Okay.
spent in the parks than you budget for.
Is it more this year for a reason?
Well, they've been doing some work on Grandview, it's a little extra than was planned for.
Okay, nothing on beach remediation. Raleigh's Bay.
That's a question mark, what we're gonna run into there.
Is that part of the discussion for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah. Grandview,
Minimal,
yeah. 130 is, the dock master, I believe, right?
correct.
Nothing at Wisconsin Bay, Sand Bay,
We're looking at getting the floor painted in that toilet down there. What we'd like to do is get the same type of stuff that's on the floor in the fire station, because that really is some quality stuff there.
Good.
Fort Moritz, nothing, Isle View, nothing, sales tax. What do we,
No, that's, I think your estimate for 2014 is too high, but 800 is a good number for 2015.
what are we paying sales tax on?
Dockage. You have to charge sales tax.
Sales tax on what, Janet?
Slip rental.
Slip
Slip
rentals.
rental.
Oh, okay.
So that's offset by what
That's
comes in.
offset.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be a revenue number on that.
Okay, no, nothing in equipment purchase,
Where did I have half the trailer? Didn't I have half the trailer there?
in equipment?
Or did I have it somewhere else?
You have
I
it
thought you had it in
someplace
parks, or in cemetery, wasn't it?
Hang on, I got it.
No. I know I said it once already.
Yeah,
You did, you had it in.
You had it
Oh,
on
it's in
line
parks.
82.
Oh, yeah.
Line
Right.
82.
Okay, that's gotta be a 0.
where did you,
So line one thirty-six is zero.
it was zero on mine.
Okay, I've got the older issue I'm working from.
View adjustment, community center.
This comes about as, well, from the Parks Committee,
Yeah.
but I am constantly being pestered by certain people in the area to make the view good from the highway. So
Then,
there-
I thought we were gonna do that last fall.
We were supposed to, and then it got stuck in, for budgetary reasons.
So that's that welcome to Ellison Bay sign you're talking about?
No.
Oh, this is
This is
taking
at
the
bottom
trees down
entrance.
Oh,
at
oh,
the
oh,
east
oh,
end.
Tidball
of
had
the
talked
community
about it
center
for several
park.
years now.
The popple trees by the tennis court.
I'd like to see that happen. I
Makes
think
a
it
big
would,
difference.
it would enrich the whole.
yeah.
A non-patrol truck. Okay, property purchase set aside. Bike rack. Ladder, whoop,
Where's the bike rack going?
Harbor,
Oh, have we been putting aside money to purchase property, like
No.
on reserve?
No,
What is it?
that then?
pardon me?
What is it?
that
10,000?
comes from Parks.
That comes from the Parks Committee to start a capital.
Same thing that
Oh,
we're
it is
talking
that.
about, another
It is
savings
that.
account. yeah.
Okay.
the bike rack is going to the Ellison Bay Harbor.
Correct.
Ladders,
8 ladders at the harbor at $250 apiece
oh, this is for the harbor,
for
okay.
safe,
That's a
safety.
must.
Throw rings,
6 at 140 in the same place.
Must.
yeah. Maintenance dredging, well, you're not gonna dredge for 3,000, are you? This is weeds.
That'll take $500.
So if it's,
Wait a
if
minute,
it's 500 to do the weeds,
why don't we,
how are we gonna dredge for 2,500 bucks?
I think you could take that down to 500, Bud, because
Well,
the lake has not dropped at all.
we'd be salting money away for dredging, I think is what the idea is.
Okay, 2,500 for dredging then, and 500 for weeds.
ramp walkway?
That needs to be replaced
Oh,
and
boy, does it.
made decent.
AED equipment,
That was suggested by Christine that we have something there for emergency purposes.
Where would you put it?
You have to put it in the harbor shack, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
only available when somebody's there to unlock it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Remind me too, I talked to Chris Sheephecht about maybe getting something that was used but still viable, that's much less money. So we can just maybe knock something off there if we can get one, but we haven't pursued it, and we're talking on Friday.
because if you can't access it, there's no
What
use
point
to
is
it.
it?
And if it's out there, open to the public, it'll
Be gone.
grow legs.
Goodbye.
It'll get thrown in the drink. Like the shack did.
yeah.
Like the porta potty did.
Can we go back to the ramp walkway? Is the wood destroyed because of the higher water, or is it, what's there has to be disassembled and replaced higher?
There,
Be disassembled and replaced, because right now, it's actually tilted.
Yep.
Like everything else down there.
Yeah.
there's a Donnybrook repair made yesterday or today, because the end of it came off and was tilted up against the edge of the ramp.
That
Couldn't
was
have been
because of
some
the heavy
Wednesday
seas.
storm.
We had 10 and 12 footers out there last week.
So are we keeping the AED equipment or not?
Why,
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. You wanna take that out?
Take it
Yeah.
off.
What are we taking
It's a
off?
great idea, but it's
AED
just hard to
equipment, I
implement.
mean,
145, bring that to 0.
145.
Now, is that ramp walkway gonna reimburse the crew for doing that, or are you gonna pay somebody under a contract to rebuild that, or? Why the 5,000? Because the crew's always done that work down at the harbor.
Materials.
Depends
It's
on
an
what we
awful lot of
do.
material for a ramp that size.
What I'm doing is I'm pricing it as if we're bidding it out. Because if we have another winter like we just had, none of this work is gonna get done if the crew does it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm going to the other extreme. They're busy enough, let's bid it out.
Okay. We have people in the community that can do that too.
All right, going to 148, install water.
There's no
Where?
wash water or any type of water there for washing boats or drinking water, anything.
And that's a state requirement that every boat come out of the water have the bottom washed out.
So we'd have to rejuvenate the well at Wills Park or else drill a new well.
Ooh, not for 10,000. Not drilling.
Is it a state
Didn't that,
recommend?
didn't,
The washing is suggested, I don't know.
Yeah,
that
it's not
not
required.
mandated. It's suggested
suggested.
highly, but it's not mandated, because there's a number of ramps that don't have water.
If we could add potable water to the slips, we could increase the price of the slip.
Oh, yeah.
Enough to cover
Didn't-
this kind of an expense?
didn't the well though at Wills Park, that got capped?
Well, that's what we're gonna have to check out, whether or not it's possible to reuse that or drill a new well.
The
think it was-
records
I don't think
should
it
be
was-
down in the county sanitarian's office.
Right, we can check that out.
Yeah, okay. Can we do that before the next budget meeting?
Sure. Do you want to leave a question mark on that one?
Yep.
Okay. 155. Well, that's
What
gonna
happened
be-
to 151?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 151.
What's RB?
Yeah.
Rowley's Bay.
Oh.
We'd better have that. We're getting closer and closer to having to take that park over.
16?
That's in discussion
Yeah,
tomorrow
I think
night
maybe
too.
we should wait until after tomorrow night's session on that.
We'll put a question mark in that.
Okay. 155. Well, that's gonna be it somewhat, huh?
We don't want to get into a room tax discussion tonight, do we?
Nope, let's stop here.
That'll be the
I've
first
had it.
45 minutes of the next meeting.
Okay, economic development. And most of that came out of the room tax, right?
Well, that stuff is up in the air yet because requests have just lately come in.
Oh, okay.
So
What does that represent at this point in time?
it's Humane Society, Gills Rock, Service Club, Historical Society, Door County North, and half of the shredding ad for our shredding program. And then also the paying for the shredder and the potty at the information booth.
Economic development number
Mhm.
for the proposed 2015?
That's what's been in there in the past.
Okay.
I don't
Because
have,
that's not the number,
I don't have current numbers for that.
Now, are we talking the 58 or the 22?
the 22,
Okay.
that number is not good.
Oh,
No.
okay.
It's
I
a
would-
number much higher,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
much higher.
Where is the community kitchen represented in all of these?
The which?
Community kitchen,
That's
It's
not
not.
good.
not in the budget at all?
Not in there at this point.
The only thing we spent on the community kitchen was to supplement the
62.
survey,
Right.
Right.
50, yeah.
but everything from there is going to be Mary Pat and economic development seeking grant money now,
Okay.
any kind of assistance that way.
If I'm not mistaken, the survey came back and it was about 1 person in 5 had an interest in that.
Yeah, there was something on
Wasn't
the
it,
pulse
huh?
about it.
That wasn't a great interest in the whole project.
Is there anything in here for painting the fire station?
The north
at
side
Allison
of
Bay
it.
and fixing that damn window in the back that Kubi popped out
I've got a,
at the end of a fire truck?
He's on a roll.
I've got the estimate from Pyle for fixing that building up from a couple years ago, I think $2,800.
Please,
Well, it's
it's
probably
a
clear.
blight to Allison Bay.
But I don't know if painting was involved in that one.
I don't think it was. Okay, let's, keep that thought, Frank, we'll come back to
I
that.
won't
I agree with
forget.
you, that's like. Okay,
Next time, we're starting at 156,
at 156,
line 156.
yeah. Everybody got that?
Yep.
What's this again now?
Oh, we're gonna start.
We're gonna start
line
next time at line
Oh,
one
okay.
fifty-six,
I was thinking,
And the
No,
date
not
we
at
do this is,
156 in the
next
afternoon.
Tuesday,
I was thinking,
What
same,
time?
same time, same
that's
place.
weird.
so that's 9:23.
No, 6:30.
I'm here.
Sorry,
Maybe.
Frank. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, I move we adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.